Hello students, welcome back to Gate Electronics Guruji classes. In the last two videos we have discussed the concept of left hand limit, the concept of right hand limit, the conditions for existence of limit, the cases when limit will not exist. We discussed three graphs and where we wanted to check whether the limit is existing or not, and we also discussed few standard limits. In this video, we will first discuss the algebra of limit and then we will discuss the determinate and indeterminate forms of limit. So let us start with the concept of algebra of limits. The laws of algebra of limits are very trivial and you should already know from class 12. Still, I have to cover the whole syllabus. The first rule is limit extending towards a c into f of x is equal to c times limit extending towards a f of x, where c is a constant. Now come to the second one. The second one says that limit extending towards a f of x plus minus g of x is equal to limit extending towards a f of x plus minus limit extending towards a z of x. Now come to the third one. The third one says that limit extending towards a f of x into g of x is equal to limit extending towards a f of x into limit extending towards a z of x. So what does this rule says? It says that the limit of the product is nothing but the product of the limit. See, when you are calculating limit extending towards a fx into gx, you have a product fx into gx and you want to calculate the limit of this product. And the rule says that you can separately or you can individually calculate the limit of fx when extending to a and limit of gx when extending toward a, and then you can multiply the two, right? Now come to the fourth one. The fourth one says that limit extending towards a f of x upon g of x is equal to limit extending towards a f of x divided by limit extending towards a, let me put this equality sign here, limit extending towards a g of x, but this is this is valid if and only if limit of gx when extending towards a is not equal to 0, because if this denominator tends towards 0, that is limit of gx extending towards a tends towards 0, then this fraction, that is limit of fx extending towards a divided by limit of gx extending towards a, will be undefined if the denominator tends towards 0. There is one more rule. This says that limit extending towards a f of gx is nothing but a composite function. We should already know this. This is same as f of limit extending towards a z of x. That is, you can first find out towards which value gx will tend to when extends to a, that is limit of gx extending towards a, and after that you can apply the function f. That is, if you want, that is, if you have a function f of gx and if you want to find out the limit of the overall function when extending towards a, you can first calculate the limit of gx when extends to a, some value will come and you can find out the value of fx at that value, right? You will first calculate limit of gx when extending towards a, some value will come, and after that you will apply the function f. Clear? Okay. So we'll use these 5 rules when we will solve problems, and definitely I will solve enough number of problems. so that you don't face any kind of problem in GATE exam. Okay. So now come to the most important topic of this limit. This is the concept of determinate and indeterminate forms. We have to understand what does determinate and indeterminate form means. So I said that we have to understand what determinate and indeterminate form means, and we will also try to understand why they are called as determinate and indeterminate forms. See, any problem of limit that you will have will be either present in determinate form or it will be present in indeterminate form. Okay, we'll first discuss the concept of determinate form and then we'll go to the concept of indeterminate form. So first come to determinate form. Suppose, so I am first discussing the concept of determinate form here. Okay, suppose you have a function f of x and you want to evaluate the limit of the function fx when x tends towards a. Clear? You have a function fx and you want to evaluate the limit of the function fx when x tends towards a. Now, if the function fx is such that just observing the function you can directly say whether the limit exists or not, then we will say that the limit is present in determinate form. What did I say? I said that if you have a function fx such that just by observing the function without doing any further manipulation or without doing any further calculation, just by observing the function fx, if you can comment whether the limit exists or not when x tends to a, then we will say that the limit is present in determinate form. Clear? Let us take an example of this case. Suppose I want to calculate limit x tending towards 1 x square plus x plus 2. Suppose I have to evaluate this limit extending towards 1 x square plus x plus 2. See, here you observe that we have a polynomial function because x square plus x plus 2 is a quadratic function. So you have a quadratic function and you are asked to calculate the limit of the quadratic function when x is tending towards 1. Now, just by observing the function you can say that the limit will exist. Here, just by observing the function you will say that the limit is exist, because you observe that when x is tending towards 1, this x square will tend to 1 square. When x is tending towards 1, this x will tend to 1. When x is tending towards 1, this constant 2 will remain constant, right? So this is coming 4. So here, just by observing the function you can say that this x square will tend to 1, this x will tend to 1, this will tend to 2, so the whole value will tend to 4. So here you don't have to do any calculation. If you just want to check whether the limit is existing or not, you don't have to do these two steps, right? Just by observing the function you can say that the limit is existing or not. In this case the limit exists, but in this case just by observing the function you can say that the limit is existing. You don't need to do any further calculation, any further manipulation to check whether the limit is existing or not. So this limit is an example of determinate form. Now here few students have a misconception. They said that, sir, to find out the value 4, you have done two steps. You have done 1 square plus 1 plus 2, then you have added and 4. Then how are you saying that you don't have to do any manipulation? See, I said that to check whether the limit is existing or not, you don't need to do any steps. You don't need to do any manipulation. You can directly say whether the limit is existing or not without doing any manipulation. I did not say that without doing any manipulation you can find the value of the limit. To find the value of the limit, you have to 2 or 3 steps, but to check whether the limit is existing or not, you don't need to do these 2 steps, right? Just observing the function, you can directly say that the limit is existing in this case. So that's why this is an example of determinate form. One more point to discuss is, do not think determinate forms means limit will exist. Determinate form doesn't guarantee that the limit will exist. If you have a limit in determinate form, you just can say whether the limit is existing or not. But this is not necessarily meaning that the limit will exist in determinate form. In determinate form, the limit even might not exist. But just by observing the function, you can say whether the limit is existing or not. Let me take one more case to explain this. Suppose you want to check limit extending towards, say, 0 positive 1 by x. So I have to find out the limit of the function 1 by x when x is tending towards 0 from the positive side. Now see, here you observe without doing any manipulation that when x is tending towards 0 from the positive side, 1 by x is tending towards plus infinite. Infinite is not a value, infinite is not a number, infinite is just a notion. So here you observe, just observing the function, here you can say that the limit is not existing because infinite is not a number, right? So here just by observing the function, you can say that the limit does not exist. DNE means does not exist, right? You did not have to do any manipulation to check whether the limit is existing or not. Just observing the problem, you could directly say that the limit is not existing, because if x is tending towards 0 from the positive side, 1 by x will tend towards plus infinite. Plus infinite is not a number, it's not a finite value, it's just a notion. So the limit is not existing. So all I am trying to say, in determinate form, the limit may or may not exist. But just by observing the function, you can directly say whether the limit is existing or not. So I hope that the concept is clear for determinate forms. Now I will move to indeterminate forms. Okay. Alright, I am erasing this whole portion. Now come to indeterminate form. This is the most important topic of limit, and this is the last topic of limit, the concept of indeterminate forms. Okay. So let us see. Suppose you have a function f of x. Suppose you have a function f of x and you want to find out limit of the function fx when x is tending towards a, right? So what did I say? All I said that you have a function fx and you want to find out limit of the function fx when x is tending towards a. Okay? Alright. Now if the function fx is such that just by observing the function you cannot directly tell whether the limit is existing or not, then we'll say that the limit is present in indeterminate form. So what did I say? If you have a function fx and you want to find out the limit of the function fx when x is tending towards a, if just by observing the function you cannot directly say whether the limit is existing or not, then we will say that the limit is present in indeterminate form. So I hope that the concept is clear up to this part. Okay. Now there are total 7 indeterminate forms that we are going to study. These are 0 by 0, infinite by infinite, 0 into infinite, infinite minus infinite, then comes 0 infinite by infinite, then we have 1 to the power infinite, then we have infinity to the power 0 and 0 to the power 0. So total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are total 7 indeterminate forms, right? And we will divide these 7 indeterminate forms into 3 categories. In category 1, we will discuss about these 3 indeterminate forms: 0 by 0, infinite by infinite, 0 into infinite. We will learn what is mean by 0 by 0, infinity by infinity, or 0 into infinity indeterminate form, why they are called indeterminate forms, and how to solve any problem when the problem is given in any one of these three forms. In the category 2, we will discuss infinite minus infinite, and in category 3, we will discuss the rest of the three. Clear? I don't want to make this video unnecessarily long, that's why in this video I will discuss only the type 1 or the category 1 of the indeterminate forms, and in the next video I will discuss the rest 1, 2, 3, 4 indeterminate forms. Clear? So let me now start with 0 by 0, infinite by infinite, and 0 into infinite. Okay? Alright. So I am erasing this portion. So let us first come to 0 by 0 indeterminate form. Suppose we have a function h of x. So I am going to discuss 0 by 0 indeterminate form. Okay. Suppose you have a function h of x such that hx is equal to fx divided by g of x. Okay. And suppose you want to calculate the limit of the function hx when x is tending towards a. So limit of hx when x tending to a is nothing but limit of x tending towards a, fx by gx, because hx is fx by gx. Clear? Now if limit extending towards a, f of x is 0, and limit gx when x is tending towards a is 0, then we will say that this is present in a 0 by 0 indeterminate form. Why? See, if limit of fx when extending towards a is 0, then clearly this numerator fx is tending towards 0. As limit of gx when extending towards a is 0, that means the denominator gx is also tending to 0. So clearly this is present in a 0 by 0 form. That's why this is a 0 by 0 form. That's why we call this as 0 by 0 indeterminate form. Now the second question that we have to understand, so this is the first point. In the first point we discuss what we mean by in 0 by 0 indeterminate form. In the second point we will discuss why 0 by 0 is an indeterminate form. Try to understand. So what we had hx is equal to fx by gx, and we wanted to find out the limit of hx when x was tending to a, and we had that fx when extending towards a is 0 and gx when extending towards a is also 0, right? Now see, we have a fraction fx by gx. Clear? The numerator of the fraction is fx and the denominator of the fraction is gx. Clear? Now for some time, forget the denominator gx. If the numerator fx tends towards 0, this will try to make the fraction 0. If you have a function, suppose fx equal to x by 5, if this numerator x tends towards 0, then this whole function fx will also tend towards 0. So clearly if the numerator fx tends towards 0, it will try to make the whole fraction fx by gx tend to 0, right? Now forget the numerator fx. Just see. If the denominator gx tends towards 0, it will try to take the value towards infinite, right? If you have a function, suppose fx equal to 5 by x, and if the denominator x tends towards 0, say from the positive side, then this function fx will tend towards plus infinite. So if the denominator gx tends towards 0, this will try to make the fraction tend toward infinite. So the numerator fx in this case is trying to take the whole function towards 0. The denominator gx, when it is tending towards 0, this denominator gx is trying to take the whole function fx by gx tend toward infinite. So the question is which one will dominate? if the fx, the numerator increases at a greater rate towards 0 as compared to the denominator, then the numerator will predominate. If the denominator gx increases at a greater rate towards 0, then this will try to take the whole fraction towards infinite, then the denominator will predominate. If the numerator fx and the denominator gx increases at same rate towards 0, if it goes at same rate towards 0, if it tends towards 0 at the same rate, then the value will be some constant, right? So without doing any further calculation, just by observing the function, we cannot directly say whether the numerator is predominating or the denominator is dominating. So we have to do some calculations to check whether the limit is existing or not and what is the value of the limit. That's why this is an indeterminate form. Clear? Now let us try to understand how to solve a problem if it is given in 0 by 0 form. Okay. All right. So I hope that the concept is clear up to this part. If you have any doubt up to this part, please let me know in the comment section. See, suppose you have, I am repeating again what I said, you have hx is equal to fx by gx, and suppose you want to calculate the limit of hx when x tending towards a, that is limit of hx when x tending towards a is nothing but limit of x tending towards a fx by gx. And what did I have? I had the case that limit of fx when x tending towards a is 0 as well as limit of gx when x tending towards a is 0. That's what we mean by a 0 by 0 form, right? Now see, what we have to do in this case is, this value limit of x tending towards a fx by gx, when it is present in a 0 by 0 form, this limit will be same as limit of x tending towards a prime x by g prime x. What did I say? I said that when fx by gx is present in a 0 by 0 form, then this limit will be same as limit of x tending towards a prime x by g prime x, where a prime x is nothing but the differentiation of fx with respect to x one time, and g prime x is the differentiation of gx with respect to x one time. Clear? So I hope that the concept is clear. So what you have to do is, if fx by gx in a 0 by 0 form, differentiate the numerator fx to obtain a prime x, differentiate the denominator gx to obtain g prime x, and calculate the limit of a prime x by g prime x. Clear? And this rule is called as L'Hospital rule. Few people call it L'Hospital rule, but the name doesn't matter. This is the concept. Now if you further find that a prime x and g prime x are present in 0 by 0 form, that is, if you observe that this a prime x and g prime x are each further present in a 0 by 0 form, then we will differentiate a prime x again with respect to x, we will differentiate g prime x again with respect to x, and this limit will be same as limit extending towards a f double prime x divided by g double prime x. If you further find that this f double prime x by g double prime x is in a 0 by 0 form, then we will differentiate f double prime x and g double prime x again, and we will say that this limit will be same as limit extending towards a f triple prime x divided by z triple prime x, and we will continue this process as long as fx by gx, we will continue this process as long as we are getting a 0 by 0 form. Clear? So I hope that the concept is clear. This should already be known to you, right? Now let me solve a problem from this. I will take a very easy problem. I will definitely solve good problems after I complete the theory part. In the standard limit, you had proved, not proved, I had said there that limit extending towards 0 sin x by x is equal to 1, but I did not give the proof. Here we will prove. So see, limit extending towards 0 sin x by x, we have to find out this limit, right? Now observe, when x tends towards 0, then sin x is tending towards 0, right? we know that when x tends towards 0, sin x also tends towards 0. Similarly, when x is tending towards 0, then obviously x will tend to 0, right? Limit of x when x tending to 0 is equal to 0, right? So you obtain that the numerator and denominator are both tending to 0 when x is tending to 0. So clearly this sin x by x is present in a 0 by 0 form, because the numerator is tending to 0 as well as the denominator is tending to 0 when x is tending to 0. So what we said, so in this case we will differentiate the numerator with respect to x. If we differentiate the numerator sin x with respect to x, I will have cos x. We will differentiate the denominator x with respect to x. If we differentiate x with respect to x, we will have 1, and we will find out the limit. And we see that limit extending towards 0 cos x is nothing but 1, because when x is tending towards 0, this cos x will tend towards 1. So this is the proof of that thing. Now we will solve one more problem. We will also prove one more standard limit. See, in standard limit we said that limit extending towards 0, 1 minus cos x by x square equal to half. Here we will prove this. So let's take the problem, limit extending towards 0, 1 minus cosine of x divided by x square. When x tends towards 0, cos of x tends to 1. So 1 minus cos x will tend towards nothing but 0. If cos x tends towards 1, so 1 minus cos x will tend to 0. So you observe that the numerator 1 minus cos x is tending to 0. And now look at the denominator. If the x tends to 0, then x square will also tend to 0. So clearly we have a 0 by 0 form. So what we will do? We will first differentiate the numerator with respect to x. Differentiating the numerator with respect to x, we will have sin x. We will differentiate the denominator x square with respect to x, we will have twice x. So we have sin x by twice of x. I can think this as limit extending towards 0, half time of sin x by x, right? And I said in the first rule in the algebra of limit that if we have a constant multiplied with a function, we can take this constant outside. So this will be same as half limit extending towards 0 sin x by x. Now observe, you see that when extending towards 0, sin x tends towards 0, and this x in the denominator will also tend to 0. So you observe that again this function is present in a 0 by 0 form. Sin x by x is in a 0 by 0 form. So we will again differentiate the numerator with respect to x. Differentiating the numerator sin x, we will get cos x. If we differentiate the denominator x with respect to x, I will have 1, and we will find out the limit, which will come as half, because when extending to 0, cosine x is tending towards 1, so we will have half. So I hope that the concept of 0 by 0 in determinate form is clear. Now come to the infinite minus infinite in determinate form. Okay, I hope the 0 by 0 is clear. Now come to infinite by infinite. Infinite upon infinite. See, suppose we have a function hx, or hx is equal to fx upon gx. And suppose you want to calculate or you want to evaluate the limit of hx when x is tending to a. So this will be, so limit of hx when x tending towards a is nothing but limit of x tending towards a fx upon gx, right? Because hx is fx by gx. Now if limit of fx when extending towards a is infinite and limit of gx when extending towards a is also infinite, then we'll say that this limit is in infinite by infinite form. Why? Because if the numerator fx tends towards infinite when extending to a, so the numerator is tending to infinite, and this denominator gx when extending towards a is also tending to infinite. So clearly we have an infinite by infinite form. Now the question is, why this infinite by infinite form is an indeterminate form? See, suppose you have hx equal to fx by gx, as we said. we said that the numerator is tending to infinite and also the denominator is tending to infinite, right? For some time forget the denominator of the fraction. If the numerator of a fraction, that is in this case fx, tends towards infinite, this will try to take the value towards infinite, right? So the numerator here tries to take the value of the fraction towards infinite. Now forget the numerator, look at the denominator. If the denominator of a fraction tends towards infinite, this will try to take the value towards 0. Because suppose you have a function 1 by x, if this x in the denominator tends towards infinite, this will try to make the overall function tends towards 0. So in this case you observe the numerator tries to take the function towards infinite, the denominator gx tries to take the whole function value towards 0. So without doing any further calculation, you cannot say whether the numerator is dominating or the denominator is dominating. If the numerator increases at a greater rate as compared to denominator, then the whole fraction value will tend towards infinite. If the denominator gx increases at a higher rate as compared to the numerator, then this will try to make the whole value, the whole limit value tend towards 0. And if both fx and gx increases at the same rate, then the limit will be some non-zero constant value. Clear? Now the question is how to solve when we have a problem in infinite by infinite form. This is similar to what we did for 0 by 0 form. If you have hx present in infinite by infinite form, when you are find out in the limit, say at x equal to a, what you have to do is you have to differentiate fx and gx separately with respect to x. If you differentiate fx with respect to x one time, you will have a prime x. If you differentiate gx with respect to x one time, you will have g prime x, and you have to find out the limit when x is tending towards a. This is also another form of L'Hospital rule which says that this limit will be same as this limit. Clear? So what I said, that if I have an infinite by infinite form, I will differentiate the numerator and denominator separately with respect to x, and I will find out the limit. Clear? Now if you obtain that this a prime x by g prime x is again present in an infinite by infinite form, if you see that this a prime x by g prime x, this is again present in an infinite by infinite form, then you have to again differentiate a prime x and g prime x. If you differentiate a prime x again, you will obtain a double prime x. If you differentiate g prime x, you will obtain g double prime x. Clear? And you have to find out the limit at x equal to a. So in this way we will go on repeating this process as long as we have an infinite by infinite form. This is similar to the 0 by 0 form. So I hope that the concept is clear, and this shouldn't be any problem to any one of you, right? Now let us solve one problem, a very easy problem from this. I am taking this problem so that you instantly understand the concepts. Suppose you have a problem limit extending towards infinite x square upon e to the power x. See, when x is tending towards infinite, this x square will tend towards infinite. So the numerator is tending towards infinite. And when x is tending towards infinite, this e to the power x will also tend towards infinite. So the denominator is also tending towards infinite. So clearly you have an infinite by infinite form. So what you have to do? You will differentiate the numerator with respect to x. If you differentiate x square with respect to x, you will obtain 2x. You will obtain the denominator with respect to x. If you differentiate e to the power x with respect to x, you will obtain e to the power x, and you will find out the limit of this. Clear? So there is a constant present here. I can take the constant outside. So this will be same as 2 times of limit extending towards infinity x by e to the power x. Now observe that when x is tending to infinite, the numerator is tending towards infinite, and the denominator is also tending towards infinite, because when x tending to infinite, e to the power x will also tend towards infinite. So clearly it is again present in an infinite by infinite form. So you have to again differentiate the numerator and denominator separately, and you will have 2 times of limit extending infinity. If you differentiate the numerator x with respect to x, you will have 1. If you differentiate the denominator e to the power x with respect to x, you will have e to the power x. So this limit will be same as this limit. Now observe, when x is tending towards infinite, e to the power x will tend towards infinite, and we have a constant at the numerator 1. So we have a constant at the numerator and the denominator is tending towards infinite, because when x is tending towards infinite, e to the power x is tending towards infinite. So clearly the limit will be 0, because if the denominator is tending towards infinite and the numerator is constant, this fraction 1 by infinite will tend towards 0. And if we multiply 2 with 0, this will be 0. So clearly I hope that the concept is clear. Okay. Now come to the third one, that is 0 into infinite. This is also a very easy one. Still I will explain because I have to cover the whole syllabus. See guys, if I can work this much for you, then I hope you can also subscribe to my channel now. So please share these videos with your friends, subscribe to the channel. Suppose we have a function hx is equal to fx into gx. Okay. And say we have to find out the limit of the function hx when x is tending to a. Clear? So limit of hx when x tending towards a will be nothing but limit of x tending towards a fx into gx, right? Now if we have a case such that limit of fx when x tending towards a is 0 and limit of gx when x tending towards a is infinite, then we'll have a 0 into infinite form. Why? Because see, when x is tending towards a, this fx is tending to 0. So this fx is tending to 0. Limit of gx when x tending towards a is infinite. That means that this gx is tending towards infinite. So clearly we have a 0 into infinite form. Clear? Now the question is, why this 0 into infinite is an indeterminate form? Because suppose we have a function, I am again repeating what I said, hx equal to fx into gx, where fx is tending towards 0 and gx is tending towards infinite. Clear? Now for some time forget gx, see only fx. See, fx is tending towards 0. So forget gx. So if you have a function, another function, two functions are multiplied, if one of these functions is tending towards 0, this will try to make the product 0, right? If you have the product of fx and gx, forget that gx is tending to infinite. If fx is tending to 0, it will try to make the product of fx and gx also tend towards 0, right? Now look at gx and forget that fx is tending to 0. If gx is tending to infinite, this will try to make the product tend towards infinite. So fx will try to make the product of fx and gx tend to 0. Gx will try to make the product tend toward infinite. So clearly without doing any calculation, we cannot say whether fx will dominate or gx will dominate. If fx goes at a greater rate towards 0 as compared to gx, then clearly fx will dominate and the whole product of fx and gx will also tend towards 0. If gx goes at a greater rate towards infinite as compared to fx tending to 0, then clearly gx will dominate and the whole function will also tend towards infinite. If both of them goes at the same rate, that is the rate at which fx is tending to 0, it's same as the rate at which gx is tending to infinite, then this product will be some non-zero constant value. Clear? So that's all. Now the question is how to solve this kind of problems, right? We learned that why 0 into infinite is an indeterminate form. Now we have to discuss why this is an indeterminate form. Sorry, we already discussed that why 0 into infinite is an indeterminate form. Now we'll discuss how to solve this problem. See, I can write this as limit of extending towards a fx divided by 1 by gx. Clear? I can write this, I can take this gx in the denominator. And what we said, we had the condition that fx is tending towards 0 when x is tending to a, and gx is tending towards infinite when x is tending to a. Now see, so when x is tending to a, this fx is tending to 0 and this gx is tending to infinite. Now see, if this gx tends to infinite, then this 1 by gx will also tend to 0. Clear? See, fx is tending to 0, that's all right. But if gx is tending to infinite, then 1 by gx will tend towards the value 0, right? So clearly you have a 0 by 0 form and you already know how to solve a problem if it is in 0 by 0 form. So using the L'Hospital rule, you can solve this. Or you can write fx into gx in this way, that limit extending towards a, gx divided by 1 by fx, right? Now what we have, when x is tending towards a, this gx is tending to infinite and this fx is tending to 0. Now if fx is tending to 0, then this whole 1 by fx will tend to infinite. If fx is tending to 0, this whole 1 by fx will tend towards infinite, right? So clearly now we have changed this problem from 0 into infinite to an infinite by infinite form. So if you have a problem, so what did we say? What did we learn? We observed that if we have a problem in 0 into infinite form, we can either convert it into 0 by 0 form, or we can convert it into infinite by infinite form, and we can solve the problem using L'Hospital rule. So let us solve one problem of this type. See, one thing I would like to say that, see, when I am making the video for you, I have to constantly think what I am going to speak in the next line. So sometimes what happens that what I am thinking in my brain is right, but sometimes जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ ना, that might be wrong. जो speech आ रहा है, that might be wrong. So if you find any such thing, then please let me know in the comment section, because these mistakes can happen from even a teacher, because when someone is teaching you, he has to constantly think what he is going to speak in the next line. He has to look at the camera, he has to write at the board, he has to do all these stuffs simultaneously. So sometimes what happens is that what we are thinking in our brain is right, but what we are writing or what we are speaking, there can be some silly mistakes. So this can happen. So if something happens like this, then please let me know in the comment section. So let us take a problem of 0 into infinite type. Suppose you have to find out the limit extending towards infinite x square plus 1 into e to the power minus x. See, when x is tending to infinite, x square is tending to infinite. So x square plus 1 is also tending towards infinite when x is tending to infinite. And clearly e to the power minus x will tend to 0, because when x is tending to infinite, e to the power minus x is tending to 0, because e to the power minus infinity. If you crudely put infinite in place of x, see, you cannot put infinite in place of x, infinite not a number, but very crudely if you think in this way, if you put infinite in place of x, you will have e to the power minus infinite. E to the power minus infinite is nothing but 1 by e to the power infinite. E to the power infinite is nothing but 1 by infinite, which is nothing but 0. You can crudely think in this way, right? So clearly when x is tending to infinite, x square plus 1 is tending to infinite and e to the power minus x is tending to 0. So we have a 0 into infinite form, and we said that we have to either convert it into a 0 by 0 form or an infinite by infinite form. Here, just by observing the function, this should come to your brain that this e to the power minus x can be written as 1 upon e to the power x, right? Now see, when x is tending to infinite, this e to the power x is tending to infinite, this x square plus 1 is tending to infinite, so we have an infinite by infinite form. And what we do in such form, we have to differentiate the numerator and denominator separately with respect to x. If we differentiate the numerator, we will have twice x. If we differentiate the denominator, we will have e to the power x. This 2 is a constant which can be taken outside the limit. So I will have 2 times of limit extending towards infinite, x divided by e to the power x. When x is tending to infinite, see, the numerator is tending towards infinite. The denominator e to the power x is also tending towards infinite. So we have an infinite by infinite form. So you have to again use the L'Hospital rule. So differentiate the numerator with respect to x. I am doing it here. After this line, I am doing it here. So if you differentiate the numerator, you will have 2 times of limit extending towards infinite, 1 divided by, if you differentiate the denominator, you will have e to the power x. So you have limit extending towards infinity 1 by e to the power x into 2. Now see, when x is tending to infinite, this e to the power x will tend to infinite. So 1 by infinite will tend to 0. So clearly the value is 2 into 0 is equal to 0. Clear? So I hope that the concept is clear up to this part. I will end this lecture here. We have, I think, 4 more indeterminate form that we are going to discuss in the next lecture. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, then please do subscribe. Press the bell button, because I will go on uploading the videos for GATE exam. And I will try to cover the whole mathematics syllabus in maximum 1.5 months. Thank you.